Well, good afternoon. James Preston with you live on Kalkine TV. It's great to have your company for News Beyond Markets, a special show that keeps you up to date on all the important news of the day. Let's begin with an update on the rising coronavirus cases across Australia. New South Wales reported 89 locally acquired cases of COVID-19. This is just a day after recording the biggest daily rise of 112 cases on Monday. Of the 89 cases reported, 21 spent time in the community while infectious. Sadly, New South Wales Health today reported the death of a man in his 70s who was a confirmed COVID-19 case. This is the second death from the deadly virus, which is rapidly spreading across the country as we speak. Now, it is something that is becoming quite a concern for New South Wales officials, and Australian authorities have warned Sydney residents to brace for an extended period of lockdown amid ongoing rising case amounts. The Sydney outbreak, fuelled by the highly contagious Delta variant, has been, to date, expanding rapidly despite the city entering its third consecutive week of lockdown. Most concerning to health officials is that many people infected with COVID-19 were active in the community, which is indeed likely to cause ongoing spikes in addition to a likely extension of the lockdown. Around 50 venues, including a bank, a clinic and a butcher, were listed overnight as places visited by infectious people, which has prompted officials to urge hundreds of people to test and self-isolate. An apartment building in the beachfront suburb of Bondi was locked down under police guard after 8 occupants tested positive for COVID-19. Also, an Amazon.com warehouse was temporarily closed for deep cleaning, and some staff were told to self-isolate after 2 workers were confirmed to have tested positive. Neighbouring states, Victoria and South Australia, are also on alert after 2 people from Sydney travelled through the states for work whilst they were infectious. And residents of an apartment block in Victoria's Melbourne were also ordered to self-isolate after a furniture mover who was infected entered the building and then later tested positive. Well, moving across to the Tasman Sea, and New Zealand has said that 13 crew members of a fishing boat quarantined in the capital city of Wellington have tested positive for COVID-19. Earlier, 2 crew members of the Viking Bay, a deep-sea fishing vessel from Spain that arrived in New Zealand last week, reportedly tested positive themselves. New Zealand's Health Ministry said that all the 15 affected crew have since been transferred to an onshore quarantine facility in Wellington. No link, however, has been shown between this case and any other cases previously identified in New Zealand. Genome sequencing of the 13 positive test results will begin on Tuesday. New Zealand has largely eliminated coronavirus from the community, with the last recorded positive COVID-19 case reported all the way back in February 2021. It has so far recorded around 2,500 cases and 26 deaths from the virus. Time now for a very quick break, and on the other side of these messages, there's been a major breakthrough in the world of medicine. All the details soon on Kalkine TV.
Crypto talk by Kalkine. The crypto market has been red hot given the Bitcoin rally since the past year. And now the most famous cryptocurrency has got competitors, Dogecoin and Ethereum. If the crypto market excites you, tune in with me, Sage, to know the latest developments about the existing digital currencies and the new ones that are joining the race. I'll help you understand the opportunities and the risks the crypto market has in store for you. For all the digital currency related developments, continue watching Crypto Talk by Kalkine.
Welcome back to Kalkine TV. James Preston with you, and if you're just joining us, this is News Beyond Markets, where we take a look at all the important news from across the globe. Time now to turn our attention to the world of medicine. Well, there's good news for diabetics. Australian scientists believe they have developed the holy grail of blood sugar testing for diabetics, which is a non-invasive strip that checks glucose levels via saliva, completely pain-free. For diabetics, managing their blood sugar levels typically means pricking their fingers multiple times a day with a lancet and then placing a drop of blood on a testing strip. Understandably, some diabetics avoid the painful process in order to minimise their testing. However, this latest test works by embedding an enzyme that detects glucose into a transistor that can then transmit the presence of the glucose. Paul Dastor, the Professor of Physics at the University of Newcastle in Australia, is leading the team that has created it. The new test was created by chance as scientists were working on solar cells. The project has now secured $4.7 million in funding from the Australian government to establish a facility to produce the test kits if the clinical trials are passed. Professor Dastor says the technology could also be transferred to COVID-19 testing and allergens, hormone and cancer testing. The university is already working with Harvard University on a test for COVID-19 using the same technology, but it's the implications for other testing that has the physicists so excited about the potential for the sensors. It's fair to say that developments like that provide for a very exciting future of medicine. Time now for a short break. We'll be back in just a moment for News Beyond the Markets on Kalkine TV.
New Zealand is unique, and Kalkine TV is here to bring you all the latest news and trending market updates. Streaming across multiple platforms, so no matter where you are, whether it be at the beach or on the farm, you can count on the team here at Kalkine TV to be your home for accessing the latest valuable insight into global issues that are affecting New Zealanders. Subscribe to our channels across YouTube, Facebook, also visit kalkine.co.nz.
Welcome back to Kalkine TV. James Preston with you for News Beyond Markets, and it's time now to check out the volatile crypto space. Since the 20th of June, Bitcoin prices have been oscillating due in part to China's rigid trade stance at present. Bitcoin ended the previous week down by 1%, while Ethereum, the second asset, dropped by 4%, and Binance Coin, the third largest asset, grew by 8%. One apparent trigger for Bitcoin and Ethereum's tough week was news of China's ongoing fire sale of mining equipment. This has sent signals to the market that China's miners are exiting the ecosystem instead of temporarily switching off machines because of the recent threats of heavy regulation in the country. So while it may have appeared that Bitcoin would bear the brunt of Chinese crypto regulations in 2021, it now appears that the broader digital asset market will have its operations disrupted more broadly. On Wednesday, the 7th of July, the price of Bitcoin retraced from trading near a US $35,000 mark to hit prices around $32,000. The price drop came hours after a whale tried to short Bitcoin with a leverage position. The price of Bitcoin has since recovered to trade around US $34,200 per Bitcoin. However, since June 20th, the price of Bitcoin has been dwindling in a range between $32,000 and $35,000 as bulls and bears continue to make turns playing cat and mouse. Moving on to the next news in the crypto space, and Kraken has listed new coins on the ASX, CHZ, OGN and PRP for the 13th of July. But first, what exactly is Kraken? Kraken is a United States-based crypto exchange and bank founded in 2011. The exchange provides cryptocurrency to fiat money trading and provides price information to Bloomberg terminals. On Tuesday, July 14th, Kraken will begin supporting 3 new tokens: Axie Infinity Shards, Chillers, Origin Protocol, and Perpetual Protocol. Axie Infinity is an Ethereum-based game that has been growing in popularity since its launch and, in the last week, crossed the US $25 million daily volume, selling over 50,000 non-fungible tokens on the 9th of July. The ASX itself is up 103% in the last week. And just before we wrap up News Beyond Markets, there's another piece of important news from the crypto space. During July 15th to 18th, it's expected to see the next Binance coin burn. In the coming days, Binance is expected to carry out its next quarterly coin burn. A feature of the Binance Exchange platform's native BNB coin is that burning events of the token take place every quarter. The Binance coin burns are paid for with 20% of the total exchange profits from the quarter. Thus, the burn resembles a dividend, and by removing coins permanently from circulation, the remaining coins theoretically become more valuable. The last Binance coin burn was the largest ever and burnt $595,314,380 worth of Binance tokens. As a result, BNB outperformed the rest of the crypto market last week, rising by 8%. Glassnode reports that funding rates on the Bitcoin perpetual futures markets have been consistently, negative since the significant market sell-off in May. A negative funding rate means short pays, longs or the shorters have been losing. The last time funding rates remained negative for such an extended period was March to April 2020, preceding a significant uptick in price. Alright, well that's all the time we've got on this edition of News Beyond Markets. Hope you enjoyed the show, and if you'd like any further info on crypto, head across to the Kalkine Media YouTube channel or to kalkinemedia.com. I'm James Preston for Kalkine TV.